other option would be to bring them over from we can do
Are we ready?
yes, sir. With the resolution. Yeah, it's only we won't read it. I can ask him to find out what we can do. It depends on if you want to ask him. I mean, he's getting a lot of these. But there's
Time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. Would ask that unauthorized visitors exit the chamber at this time as the Senate comes to order. Chair recognizes the distinguished Rules Committee Chairman, Senator from the 53rd.
Mr. President, I have a couple of moments in history. Today, 50 years ago, the senator from the 39th had his first press conference. Also, there was a very important man born 49 years ago, and then also the senator from the 51st was born too. So it's the senator from the 54th birthday today. Let's give him a hand.
All right.
The journal's been read and found to be correct.
Well, it's a great honor to wish both the senator from the 51st and the senator from the 29th a birthday today. They were separated at birth and still working hand in hand, I can tell you. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of journal? Chairs none. Journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Resolution 1057 by Senator Hill of the 32nd, a resolution honoring the life and memory of
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 1059 by Senator Thompson of the 14th, and others, a resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on
Health and Human Services.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions.
House Bill 166 by Representative Yates of the 73rd and others, a bill to be entitled an action amendment Chapter 6 of Title 40 of
Public
the OC.
Safety.
House Bill 614 by Representative Stovall of the 74th and others.
Education and Youth.
House Bill 773 by Representative Houston of the 170th and others, a bill to be.
Appropriations.
House Bill 806 by Representative Tanner of the 9th and others, a bill.
Public Safety.
House Bill 838 by Representative Blackman of the 146th and others, a bill to be entitled an action amendment Chapter 24 of Title 33 of the OCG relating to insurance general provisions.
Insurance and Labor.
House Bill 874 by Representatives Reeves of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an action amendment.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 916 by Representative Hightower of the 68th and others, a bill to be entitled an
Health
action.
and Human Services.
House Bill 948 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, a bill to be entitled an action amendment code section.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 949 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, and others, a bill to be entitled an action amendment.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 980 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, and others, a bill to be entitled an action.
Ethics.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and the Environment has had our consideration of the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 1037 due pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 1038 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted by Senator Gann of the 47th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had our consideration of the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 413 due pass. Senate Bill 417 due pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Beach of the 21st. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had our consideration of the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 993 due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 409 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted by Senator Tippins of the 37th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had our consideration of the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 357 due pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 723 due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 310 due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 355 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted by Senator Tippins of the 37th. Mr. President, the Senate Special Judiciary Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 391, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Thompson of the 5th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following legislation and instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 385, due pass. Senate Bill 389, due pass by substitute, effectively submitted by Senator Unterman of the 45th. Mr. President, the Senate Judiciary Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 206, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator McCune of the 29th. Mr. President, the Senate Finance Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 756, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Hill of the 32nd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Interstate Cooperation has had under consideration the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 408, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator James of the 35th. Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations General Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 400, due pass. Senate Bill 375, due pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Albers of the 56th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 402, due pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Jeffries of the 17th. Mr. President, the Senate Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 354, due pass. House Bill 697, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Wilkinson of the 50th. Mr. President, the Senate Public Safety Committee has had under consideration the following legislation instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 416, due pass. House Bill 421, due pass. Senate Bill 304, due pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 1032, due pass. Senate Bill 6, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Harper of the 7th. Mr. President, the Senate Higher Education Committee has had under consideration the following legislation instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 467, due pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 983, due pass. Senate Resolution 1001, due pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Miller of the 40th. Mr. President, the Senate Finance Committee has had under consideration the following legislation instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 259, due pass by substitute. House Bill 238, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Hill of the 32nd. Mr. President, the Senate Special Judiciary Committee has had under consideration the following legislation instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 738, due pass. House Bill 871, due pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Thompson of the 5th. Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations Committee has had under consideration the following legislation instructing me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 748, due pass. House Bill 888, due pass. House Bill 932, due pass. House Bill 967, due pass. House Bill 1007, due pass. House Bill 1019, due pass. Senate Bill 419, due pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Albers of the 56th. Mr. President, that completes the reports.
Secretary will read bills for the second time.
Senate Bill 327 by Senator Hill of 32nd. Another state purchasing prohibit the state from entering into certain contracts unless such contract contains a certification does not presently conduct a boycott of Israel. Senate Bill 332 by Senator Kennedy the 18th and others. Public order and safety. Clarify the judges and justices who are exempt various weapons carry laws and prohibitions. Senate Bill 335 by Senator Black of the 8th and others. Retirement permissible investments in commingled funds and collective investment funds. Revised provisions. Senate Bill 345 by Senator Hill of the 6th and others. Corporations, partnerships, and associations provide for the policy of state determining property rights of religious organizations. Senate Bill 346 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others. Environmental Policy Act exempt projects for construction improvement of public roads from environmental effects reports. Senate Bill 383 by Senator Again of the 47th and others. Public roads, roadside enhancement and beautification council provide for purposes. Senate Bill 410 by Senator Black of the 8th and others. State symbols designate the English Bulldog as the official Georgia state dog. Senate Bill 420 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others. Local government require referendum approval prior to the expenditure of public funds establishment of a fixed guideway transit. Senate Resolution 863 by Senator Gooch of the 51st. Vietnam Veterans Memorial Bridge Union County dedicate. Senate Resolution 892 by Senator Walker the 3rd of the 20th and others. Governor Sonny Perdue Highway Dooley County dedicate. Senate Resolution 956 by Senator Gucci, the 51st, Satina Cucci Arts and Heritage District, White County, dedicate. Senate Resolution 978 by Senator Ginn of the 47th, Sheriff Dewey G. Seagraves Intersection, Madison County, dedicate. Senate Resolution 1018 by Senator Wilkinson of the 50th and others. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency encouraged to withdraw the proposed water of the U.S. Clean Water Plan rule. House Bill 690 by Senator Carter of the 175th and others. Employees Retirement System of Georgia provide that certain law enforcement officers obtain credible service in the system under certain conditions, provisions. House Bill 811 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others. Banking and Finance, update, modernize, and streamline numerous code sections, revise provisions. House Bill 815 by Representatives Rhodes of the 120th and others. Meat inspection, and regulation of certain avian meat products and facilities provide. House Bill 844 Representatives Maxwell of the 17th and others. Georgia Firefighters Pension Fund insurance premium subject to taxation. Update certain provisions. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Time for the morning roll call. Are there motions to excuse? Motions to excuse. Chair recognizes Senator from the 13th.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 40th District for business inside the Capitol.
40th, without objection, the senator from the 40th will be excused. Any other motions to excuse? Well, senator from the 33rd is recognized.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask that you please excuse the senator from the 41st for business outside the Capitol.
41st, without objection, the senator from the 41st will be excused. Any other motions to excuse? Senators, please signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for the morning devotion. Time for the morning devotion. Would ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversation at this time as we are preparing the chamber for the morning devotion. It is now my distinct honor to call upon the distinguished senator from the 42nd to lead us in our pledge and introduce our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. Pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. It's my distinct honor, colleagues, to introduce the Reverend David Lewicki for our pastor of the day. He has been the co-pastor of North Decatur Presbyterian Church, which is right outside the city boundaries of Decatur, Georgia, since 2010. He and his partner, the Reverend Elizabeth Waltemath, who is also his co-pastor, have two children, James, who is 8 and has joined us this morning. He's right over here, so please also give James a warm welcome. And also his younger sister, Margaret, who is 6. Prior to his ordination, Reverend Lewicki founded and operated a nonprofit youth and community development organization called Urban Solutions and was a fellow of the Echoing Green Foundation for Social Entrepreneurs. He is a graduate of Yale College and Union Theological Seminary in New York City. He is also co-chair of Presbyterians for a Better Georgia. He works with the Atlantans Building Leadership for Empowerment, and he is also a board member for Decatur Cooperative Ministry. Please join me in welcoming Pastor David Lewicki.
Good morning, friends. I want to do something this morning for all of us, which is a little bit radical, which is just ask us to be quiet for a minute or two. We do this often in our church. This may be the only moment of real quiet you get all the day long, so enjoy it. I know some of you will be inclined to look down as though you are praying and have your phones down there and doing something. I've been there, so I know how that works. I invite you to let those go and be present to the silence. Treat the silence like it's a gift. This may be the most fully alive you feel all the day long. In the silence, we are able to be present to the source of all of life. The 46th Psalm says, "Be still. Be still and know that I am God." We don't have to do anything. We don't have to say a thing. We sit in the stillness and be present. So if you would join me, put your feet on the floor and find a comfortable space in your chair. If you want, relax your face. Some of us frown a little bit or scowl too often. It's not good for you. So soften the muscles of your face. You may even put your hands up toward the air to receive what God has to offer this day. We'll take 60 seconds in silence, and then I'll invite you to rise for a concluding prayer. See if in the silence you hear a voice. See if that voice says to you, "You are my beloved child." Let us be quiet. Let us rise and pray together. Loving Creator God, I give you thanks for the gift of the silence. I give you thanks, God, for all of these your beloved children in this room today, for each one that is called to this place for a holy purpose. God, I ask you to remind each of them, each of these women and men, why it is that you put us here. By your great wisdom, God, you gather us here together. In your great humor, O God, you made it so that we are not all alike. We are from different places. We see the world through different eyes. It is our great and sacred task to learn why you chose us for each other, to learn how our differences can be a blessing and a benefit to the people of this state. God, if there is any person with whom I have had a quarrel this day, I ask your forgiveness, and I ask for the grace and courage to seek their forgiveness as well. God, we pray this day for all of our colleagues who surround us. May the light of love and peace be with them and hold them. This season during the legislative session is hard on our families. So we give thanks today for all the people at home whom we love so much and who sacrifice so much so that we may be here. Most of all, God, we ask your blessings to rain down on the people of this state, the people whom we are called to serve. Especially be with those who are sick and scared, those who are this day in prison, and those who have just come out and are ready to contribute. Be with those without shelter from the rain and the cold. And God, be with those who are hungry and those caught in addictions. Bless, O God, the people of all the branches of our government, especially those who teach my children and all of our children. Be with those whose service keeps us safe, and those who work so hard, cooking and cleaning around us, whom we might otherwise take for granted. God, all of us are held by your mighty and merciful hands. We would honor you this day and fulfill the purpose for which you called us here. So God, may everything we say and do on this day serve the highest and most holy purpose, which is love. For it is love that brought us here. It is love that keeps us here. It is love which will bring us home. In the name of the one from whose love nothing in creation ever separates us, we offer this prayer, saying in one voice, Amen.
Are there any unanimous consents? Chair recognizes Senator from the 6th.
Mr. President, I move to withdraw Senate Bill 391 from consideration pursuant to Rule Number 3-7.1.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 391 by Senator Hill, the 6th, and others, the bill to be entitled an action in Title 45 of the OCGA relating to public officers and employees so as to change certain provisions of the Fair Employment Practices Act of 1978 and Personnel Administration in order to expand the definition of discrimination to include differential or preferential treatment for any reason other than that of individual merit, performance, qualifications, or noncompliance with standards of presentation, to change and add certain definitions to provide for related matters, to appeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Senator has the right to withdraw that bill, even though it was a good bill. The bill will be withdrawn without objection. We have some special. Is there any other senators? Senator from the 29th. Were you?
Yeah, no, that's what we're on. Okay. Yeah, I just want to do that now.
I need to do Senator Rep. I didn't know what number it is.
33?
If that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to remove my name as the primary author of Senate Bill 149 and that the senator from the 33rd be designated as the primary author.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 149 by Senator McCune of the 29th and others, the bill to be entitled an action in Article 5 of Chapter 2 of Title 47 of the OCGA relating to service credible towards retirement benefits so as to provide for credible service for certain military service, to provide for application and payment, to provide for conditions for an effective date and automatic repeal, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, the senator from the 29th's name will be removed as the primary author, and the senator from the 33rd will now become the primary author on Senate Bill 149. We have some special recognitions we would like to do at this time. Let's line it up. Let's go. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 1045 by Senators Miller of the 49th, Gooch of the 51st, Unterman of the 45th, Wilkinson of the 50th, Schaefer of the 48th, and others. A resolution commending Mr. Herman Cain and for other purposes. Whereas Mr. Herman Cain grew up in Atlanta, Georgia with two loving parents who instilled in him that hard work was the key to achieving the American dream. And whereas Mr. Cain graduated from Morehouse College with a degree in mathematics in 1967, and whereas, inspired by the work ethic and character of his parents, Mr. Cain continued his education by earning his master's degree in computer science from Purdue University while working full-time developing fire control systems for ships and fighter planes for the Department of the Navy. And whereas Mr. Cain returned home to Atlanta to work as a computer systems analyst for the Coca-Cola Company, and after considerable success there, he moved to the Pillsbury Company where he rose to the position of Vice President. And whereas in 2008, Mr. Cain became a Republican candidate in the presidential race, and whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that the outstanding achievements of this remarkable and distinguished Georgian be appropriately recognized. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend Mr. Herman Cain for his outstanding achievements and extend to him their most sincere wishes for continued health and happiness. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. It is a great, great honor to have Herman Cain present with us today. I have known him personally for many, many, many years. He has been a great advocate and champion for our state, along with so many wonderful values. He embodies what the American dream is all about, and we appreciate him deeply. To speak to the resolution and recognize our very special guest today, I call upon the senator from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It gives me great pleasure to come before the ladies and gentlemen of the Senate and our visitors in the gallery. It gives me a great deal of honor to introduce a great American, a man who epitomizes the American dream, whose accomplishments and recognition deserve great respect. Growing up in Atlanta, learning a strong work ethic at an early age, from his humble roots, he extols the very virtues that we all hold so dearly: determination, confidence, self-reliance. A product of our own Morehouse College, he earned his mathematics degree. He went on to Purdue University to earn a degree in computer science. His resume is diverse, from analyst at Coca-Cola Bottling Company to burger flipper at Burger King to CEO of Godfather's Pizza to heading up the National Restaurant Association. He's offered his talents and skills to his fellow man, consistently serving over the years, and today continues to impart wisdom and virtues to millions as the #1 talk show host. The #1 talk show host. The #1 talk show host, right? Let's hear it. The #1 talk show host. I ask you to give a warm Senate welcome to Mr. Herman Cain, hold on, his wife, Gloria Cain, his daughter, Melanie Cain Gallo, and his son, Vincent Cain. Thank you. Thank you, baby.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Miller. To the governor, lieutenant governor, members of the Senate, thank you for this honor. It is indeed an honor to be recognized by this body for those things that this American dream has allowed me to achieve. I accept this honor on behalf of all of those that wanted liberty and freedom but died trying to get it. I also accept this honor on behalf of all of those who surrounded me on this American journey. My wife, Gloria, 47 years, my son and my daughter, Melanie and Vincent, my daughter-in-law, my son-in-law, best friends, because you don't get anywhere in life by yourself. I also accept this honor in recognition of the fact that we all still have a lot of work to do. The American dream is under attack. And in order for us to ensure that future generations will be able to achieve their American dreams, we have got to do the things that we need to do to take it back. And lastly, I accept this honor in recognition of all of those voices through the years, nearly 240 years, that have worked to try and bring us together as a nation rather than divide us. Those voices that have worked to bring us together include the Founding Fathers when they said all men are created equal. They include people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who aspired beyond the conditions of the time and lended his voice in order to bring us together and change not only the hearts, but the minds of this nation as well as the world. I'm deeply honored, and most of all, I give thanks to Almighty God for me being able to exceed my American dreams. Thank you very much.
We have another special recognition we would like to do. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 709 by Senators Lucas of the 26th, Ginn of the 47th, Henson of the 41st, Thompson of the 5th, Rhett of the 33rd, and others, a resolution commending the Georgia Science Teachers Association and recognizing February 15th, 2016 as Science Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas the Georgia Science Teachers Association, a chapter of the National Science Teachers Association, is a professional organization committed to supporting excellent education for all students in Georgia's elementary, middle schools, high schools, colleges, and universities. And whereas the Georgia Science Teachers Association promotes innovation and recognizes excellence by annually recognizing Teachers of the Year and Teachers of Promise at the elementary, middle, high, and secondary levels. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the Georgia Science Teachers Association and recognize February 15th, 2016 as Science Day at the State Capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Speak to the resolution and recognize our very special guest today. I call upon the distinguished senator from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are today recognizing Georgia Science Teachers Association. And these are the folks that deal with our young folks, trying to make sure that they are ready to move on, whether it's technical or post-secondary. Now I would ask the president of the association, Mr. Jerry Peacock, to respond to the resolution.
Good morning, everyone. Senator Lucas, thank you very much. We appreciate this recognition. We appreciate all y'all's time today. And we know and you know that science is a really critical part of our state's economy and the success of our state, and we are working hard to promote that and move that forward in the right direction, and we appreciate any support that you all find an opportunity to give along the way. So thank you very much, and we appreciate being here today.
Thanks so much. Good. All right, let's we have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. We have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. Well, I'm backed up right now, so we have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions that are before you. Is there objection to adoption of the consent calendar of privilege resolutions? Chair hears none. The privilege resolutions are therefore adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? Any senator wishing to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to remind people today, we're in crunch time, and this is how the Rules Committee works. You have a bill, please come to see me to see if it's eligible or available for Section 1. Then you need to lobby the members of the committee for someone to choose your bill. You know, we have many bills to choose from, but only a certain few are going to make it today and tomorrow. So please lobby the members of the committee to get your bill on the floor. They're all wonderful bills, change the lives of every Georgian probably, needs to be on the floor, but the members of the committee are your key to success. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Have some more special recognitions we will take up at this time. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 882 by Senators James of the 35th, Rhett of the 33rd, Davenport of the 44th, C of the 34th, Tate of the 38th, and others. A resolution recognizing the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce on the grand occasion of its 69th anniversary and for other purposes. Whereas the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce has been honored with the City of East Point December 2015 Small Business of the Month Award, it received a grant from the Development Authority of Fulton County to develop a marketing guide for economic development, and it is proud to have increased membership by 20% in 2015. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce on the grand occasion of its 69th anniversary and wish it continued success. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair is none. The resolution is adopted. It's an honor to have South Fulton Chamber of Commerce that's present with us today speak to the resolution and recognize our special guest. I call upon the senator from the 35th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And senators, I'm so excited because we have South Fulton Day at the Capitol. South Fulton is God's country where good things happen. And it includes Hayville, East Point, College Park, Union City, Fairburn, Palmetto, Chattahoochee Hills, unincorporated, South Fulton, Southwest Atlanta, and we claim some of the other areas that touch us too. So we're so excited today to have our Chamber of Commerce. We had our mayors here from most of those cities that I mentioned already. We have many of our city council people who have been here with us this morning. But before I introduce anyone, let me say that we have South Fulton in the gallery. So please stand up and get a warm welcome from this Senate. Thank you for being here and staying with us. Thank you. See, I'm showing off our greatest and finest, our concerned citizens and our business leaders of South Fulton. Our South Fulton Chamber of Commerce board member, president and CEO is Diane Matthews. Diane, standing behind me. LaVon Devers, our past chair. Kip Carr, our vice president of Intergovernmental Affairs. Bill Davenport, our chair emeritus, and we know him from Georgia Power Company. And we have Brian Jones just left. He was with the City Council of Union City. But we still have with us here on the stage Lydia Glaze, who is the mayor pro tem of Fairburn, Georgia, and the mayor of Vince Williams, the mayor of Union City. So both of them, please come up and just say just a few words.
I want to say good morning to everyone, and it's such an honor to be here with our great senators. We support you in the work that you're doing under the dome, and our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Certainly it is a great privilege to be here in front of all of you, but certainly celebrating South Fulton Day, the South Fulton Chamber. Certainly we know that South Fulton has been a huge benefit to Metro Atlanta and all of Georgia, and what a pleasure to be here with Mr. 999 himself. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you, and as Donzella said, our senator, South Fulton is God's country.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 44th on a point of personal privilege. 44th.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Colleagues, I am so honored today to have with us and to present to you the Andrews Chapel United Methodist women from Andrews Chapel United Methodist Church in Jonesboro. The Andrews Chapel United Methodist Church was founded in 1875, and we are so honored to have the president of the United Methodist Women, Ms. Rena McElrath, and some women from Andrews Chapel. Would you please stand at this time? Give them a big hand and welcome to them to the Georgia State Senate. Thank you, ladies. This organization is continuing to do great things. They're renewing their faith and continue to enhance local fellowship through many activities, including hosting quarterly prayer breakfasts and preparing health kits for Unicorn. And one thing that we did, we just finished in November a mission trip to Haiti, including school supplies, taking school supplies and food for 3 orphanages and 3 churches there. So we are so excited. We have a partnership there, and we're there to help the people of Haiti. So ladies, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for coming to the Georgia State Senate. Again, Andrews Chapel United Methodist Church, my home church, and the Andrews Chapel United Methodist Women. I yield the way, Mr. President. Thank you.
Secretary will read a resolution as we recognize some very special guests.
Senate Resolution 907 by Senators Unterman of the 45th, Orrock of the 36th, and Jackson of the 2nd, a resolution recognizing Thursday, February 25th, 2016 as Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas lupus is an acute, chronic, and lifelong autoimmune disease in which the immune system is unbalanced, causing inflammation and tissue damage to virtually every organ system in the body. And whereas at least 1.5 million Americans, including approximately 55,000 Georgians, are currently living with lupus. And whereas the Lupus Foundation of America is the nation's leading nonprofit voluntary health organization dedicated to finding the causes and a cure for lupus while providing support and services to all people affected by the disease. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the work of the Lupus Foundation of America and other organizations devoted to finding a cure for lupus and to supporting the individuals and families whose lives are affected by this autoimmune disease, and recognize Thursday, February 25th, 2016 as Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair is none. The resolution is adopted. It is a great honor to have the individuals that are making lupus awareness, and for us to have Lupus Awareness Day here at the Capitol, and all the people that are continuing the fight. To speak to the resolution, it is my honor now to call upon the distinguished senator from the 45th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, we have over 200 registered Georgians today, and some of those folks are in the gallery. Give me a shout out. The question is whether we know lupus or we want no lupus, because we all know here in the Senate that lupus is a very debilitating disease process, and it harms many Georgians, not just individuals, but caregivers and family members and our society in general. We have lots of visitors today. We're glad to have you here at the Capitol. We had our very first council meeting about 2 weeks ago. As you know, you passed the law creating that council so that we can do more research about the issue of lupus. We have Miss Alita here today. I know most of y'all know the executive director of the Lupus Foundation, Kim Schofield. She's here with us on the platform. But let's hear from a survivor and a person who is living every day with lupus.
Good morning. My name is Alita McLean, and I have lupus. I was just diagnosed in October of 2014, so I am new to this. And although I look healthy and fine today, lupus can drastically change that in a matter of a day or a week, because Lord knows I don't look like what I've been through. So needless to say, I'm scared. I'm a single parent, and I have a disease that has no cure. And I have to worry about staying healthy enough to work and take care of my child. Lupus affects every person differently, and I'm here to put a face to the voice of lupus. Again, we thank you and ask you to consider lupus when you consider legislation that affects individuals with chronic diseases. Thank you.
As most of y'all know, every year we have a lupus walk. It's held at Piedmont Park, and literally we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people with lupus and family members and people who care about this subject matter. So I'm here today asking the other 55 senators, please join us coming up in April at that lupus walk to raise money for advancing the fight against lupus. Thank you very much.
Oh, hold it, William. Take it, hold it up. There you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'd like to present the Doctor of the Day, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It is my honor to introduce the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Willie Haney. Dr. Haney is a practicing internal medicine physician with Kaiser Permanente of Georgia in the Southeast Permanente Medical Group. He's a native of Macon. He's a graduate from the Medical College of Georgia and received his internal medicine training at Emory University, School of Medicine and affiliated hospitals. He is board certified in internal medicine. After starting his medical career with the National Health Service Corps, he joined the Southeast Permanente Medical Group in 1988. In addition to patient care, he has served the medical group in a number of roles, including population care management, quality and patient safety, peer review, electronic medical records implementation. He has also served as the chief of medical ambulatory medicine and currently works as a physician, market leader for national accounts, and physician director for peer review. In his spare time, Dr. Rainey likes to play golf, listen to music, and travel. And he told me that his most rewarding time is spent with his 2 grandchildren. Dr. Willie Rainey.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Jones, Mr. President, and members of the Senate. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you for the ability for me to have a Georgia education and the ability to give back to the community. And most of all, thank you for letting me serve as your physician of the day for today. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much. Let's line up on the steps there. Do we have another group? Okay. Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st on a point of personal privilege.
Many of you all know that I get here rather early in the morning on most mornings. Yesterday morning, I received a call to my office at 9:50 a.m. I was in our caucus meeting at that time. Had previously attended a Ag and Consumer Affairs meeting at 8:30 at the Capitol. But a very angry lady called my office. And she was upset because I had just passed her on the interstate, driving at an excessive rate of speed, and she had fallen in behind me and gotten my tag number, and looked me up on the internet and determined that the person that she thought she was following was the senator from the 31st, and she was rather upset. The only thing that I know about her is that her phone number was 678-326-6362. When you Google that number, it comes up as a Noonan number. I don't go through Noonan on my way to the Capitol, but it's just a little recommendation to all of you who take great pride in having a legislative tag on your vehicle. You need to set a good example for those folks who have to abide by the laws that we pass down here. Now, I don't want to stand here before you acting as if I have never broken the speed limit. But I wasn't driving yesterday morning. In fact, my truck was secure inside my garage. And unless this lady had a really good friend with law enforcement who was willing to break the law to look up a tag number for me, she was in error. So she was after one of you. Be careful.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st. 21st. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a true honor today to recognize someone who's meant a lot to our community, Dorothy Dot Benson. She's 94 years old. Let's give her a round of applause. 94 years old. She has been involved in senior living in North Fulton, the Equestrian Center, the Alpharetta Parks and Recreation Board. They even named a multi-purpose senior facility in North Fulton, the Dorothy C. Benson Multi-Purpose Senior Facility. And that is a great honor for her. She deserves that honor. And on a personal note, she had knee replacement at 90, and she's walking like a 50-year-old. So we're very proud of her, and we're very proud of what you've done, and we want to recognize you as a distinguished older Georgian for 2016. Ms. Benson, let's give a round of applause for Ms. Dorothy Dot Benson.
He said I couldn't say anything, but thank you. So thank you for the Council on Aging for this honor.
Chair recognizes senator from the 29th on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I think that it's important when fundamental facts are misrepresented that the record be made clear. And we heard within hours of our debate on Friday on the amended version of House Bill 757 about an executive with a company called 373K moving from Georgia to Nevada. But that's all we heard. We didn't hear about the fact that this global telecom company, which has 20 employees, 5 of whom are in Georgia, is a vendor for the Democratic National Committee, and that this was essentially a calculated partisan ploy to try to feed into a narrative being pushed by opponents of religious freedom legislation. But wait, there's more. Over the last few days, it has come to light what this gentleman, Kelvin Williams, has had to say about people of faith. And I was actually going to have some of those things distributed to your desks, but the determination was made that the language was so offensive that it's not something that should be distributed. And I actually, upon further reflection, agree with that decision. I do want to share with you in general terms what this gentleman has had to say. Upon the death of Justice Antonin Scalia, he wished for his eternal condemnation. That's the nicest way I can put it. He made cracks about the justice's weight with respect to his funerary arrangements. He essentially said to any person of faith who believes that their faith is worth dying for, and I would remind this Senate that we're in a time around the world where people are dying for their faith on a regular basis, where people are being martyred for their beliefs. He actually put something out on social media wishing for the deaths of anyone who holds sincere religious beliefs. He's put out racially offensive language that I will not repeat from the well of this Senate. He has put out statements about Catholic priests that I will not repeat from the well of this Senate. But this gentleman is an anti-religious bigot. And if it prompted him to make the decision to move from Georgia to Nevada, where, by the way, they have under consideration religious freedom legislation in their state legislature, all I can say is I'd be delighted to help him pack. 373K also has business operations in Indonesia. Now, perhaps it's news to Mr. Williams, but in Indonesia, not only is there no non-discrimination language to protect folks in the LGBT community, it is punishable by up to 100 strokes of the cane in Indonesia. But his company is investing dollars there, they're spending money there. So this rank hypocrisy, this cheap political trick, ought to be called out by people other than those from this well. And I would hope that those who have been misled, including members of this Senate who came to this well and defended this gentleman, will clear the record and make it perfectly clear that we do not accept this kind of behavior or this kind of conduct. And I certainly hope the media organizations who continue as recently as today to continue to cite this gentleman as an example of people leaving this state over how free our people are will correct the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let me take a moment and welcome to the Senate. The senator from the 11th, from Bainbridge, has his two brothers here with him today, and it's a great honor to welcome them to the chamber. Any two individuals that put up with the senator from the 11th, you have our admiration, I can assure you. So, great. We have a resolution we would like read at this point.
Senate Resolution 1052 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd, Jones of the 10th, James of the 35th, Harbison of the 15th, and Sims of the 12th, a resolution recognizing and honoring Ambassador Jeremiah C. Salunte and for other purposes. Whereas Ambassador Jeremiah C. Salunte is a prominent Liberian politician, administrator, and professor. And whereas Ambassador Salunte was also an economics professor at two of Liberia's highest institutions of learning, the University of Liberia and Cuttington University. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and honor Ambassador Jeremiah C. Salunte for his remarkable accomplishments and work with the United States. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair is none, and the resolution is adopted. To speak to the resolution, it is my honor to call upon the distinguished senator from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I'm honored to have Ambassador Salente with us today. Ambassador Salente hails from Liberia. He is the ambassador to the U.S. from this great country. He is not only a politician, a highly educated individual, but more importantly, he is a businessman that understands business. You may not know this, but the country of Liberia just signed a trade agreement with Georgia that Liberia will use 2 ports in cargo transit from Liberia to the United States, and one of them is Savannah, Georgia, our port of Georgia. I stand here with former Mayor of Saginaw, Michigan, Wilma Ham, and Ms. Cynthia Branford, who is the Honorable Consulate General of Liberia. We are honored to have the ambassador here. Ambassador Salente, would you please come greet the General Assembly?
Good morning. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad to be here. Honorable members of the Senate, I want to thank Senator Jackson for this invitation. I bring you greetings on behalf of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the government and people of Liberia, and our embassy in Washington, D.C. You may be aware that Liberia, a small country in West Africa, almost the size of Ohio, but at least it's larger than Tennessee, was founded by free American slaves in the 1800s. The first 10 presidents of Liberia were African Americans. Since the 1800s, we have enjoyed a very cordial relationship with the United States, which we are proud of. As a representative of Liberia, I have come to thank all of you, the American people, for the support to our country, especially during the most recent past when Liberia was plagued with Ebola. The outpouring support from the American people, the technical support from the Center for Disease Control, based here in Atlanta, Georgia, got us where we are today. We are very grateful for that. But this week I have come at the invitation of Senator Jackson to follow up on a partnership that draws interest in a sister port relationship between Georgia Port Authority and the Liberian Port Authority. We are also interested in nurturing an exchange, educational exchange, cultural exchange, and looking forward to investing in Liberia. Liberia should be considered as your next destination for trade and investment. With the kind of relationship we have had with the great people of the United States, we are very proud to be called a small America in Africa. Thank you so much for this honor. Thank you so much for this invitation. And I look forward to joining you and discussing as we move forward with this partnership. Thank you so very much.
Let's get a picture together. Thank you. Very good. Well done. Thank you so much.
This is our ambassador.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Let's do a picture if that's okay. Good, good. We're very proud of NASCAR and all the great work that it does across the country, but certainly in our great state. The Atlanta Motor Speedway is a great jewel. And to speak and recognize some special guests that are here with us, call upon the distinguished senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In case of those of you that wasn't aware, the Atlanta 500 is this Sunday, and Ed Clark is going to introduce some people today, and he's the president of AMS.
Thank you, Senator Jeffries. It's great to be here, and this is NASCAR Week in Georgia, our one stop a year for NASCAR at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we've got some of our competitors here. Let me introduce behind me Georgia drivers. John West Townley is from Watkinsville, Garrett Smithley from Peachtree City, Chris Cochran from Conyers, David Reagan from Unadilla, and we've adopted this young man as a Georgian for this week, Denny Hamlin, the winner of Sunday's Daytona 500.
We're going to have 3 races, 950 miles of racing Saturday and Sunday, beginning with a Heads Up Georgia 250 Xfinity Series race, the Great Clips 200 after that for the Truck Series on Saturday, and then we'll conclude it with the Quick Trip Folds of Honor 500 on Sunday. Really proud. I know we've got some race fans in the room. We'll see some of you guys there this weekend, I'm sure, and really proud of the support we get from our state. We bring a few people from all over the country here for this event and add to our state's economic impact. I'm really proud we can do that. But thank you for having us out today.
Let's do a picture in here, guys. All right, good to have y'all. Appreciate it. Really great seeing you always. Appreciate seeing you. Yes, sir. Very good. We're trying. Ain't no doubt. Good. Chair recognizes Senator from the 38.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues and guests. I would like to bring to your attention today a young man who is a rising star both academically and athletically. Isaiah Rogers, who's over here on the right, raise your hand. He is a senior attending Campbell High School in Marietta, Georgia. He is the team captain for the Campbell High School track and field team as well as his throwing club. Isaiah has been throwing shot put since he was the age of 6, and he gathered 5 Georgia state titles prior to attending Campbell High School. He holds the all-time school record for shot put and discus, but most importantly, he is a very good academic student with a GPA of 3.88 and a member of the National Honor Society. Isaiah was one of 14 boys who made the National Scholastic Athletic Foundation's international team that represented the United States and competed in the Caribbean Scholastic Invitational in Havana, Cuba, where they won first place. Isaiah was one of 2 athletes in the nation to make the 2015 US ATF World Youth Track and Field Team for throwing shot put in Cali, Colombia. Isaiah plans to attend Texas Christian University, where he has a full scholarship and will study mechanical engineering. Today he is joined by his parents, Lisa and Chris Rogers, raise your hand, okay, and his coaches, Mike Judd and Brian Smith. Let's give a hand to Isaiah. Thank you so very much. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th on a point of personal privilege, 34th. You wish to be recognized?
Sorry, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, you have a golden opportunity today. If you would just stop by the room 403 and join in the Keep Georgia Beautiful as a leader against litter. And we all seen the litter around the great state of Georgia, and we know we can do better than that. But you can go and make a PSA to Keep Georgia Beautiful, and it will be distributed in your local radio district. So please make time to go by today and do your PSA for the Leaders Against Litter for Keep Georgia Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th, and then the 35th will be next, and then the senator from the 1st will be after that, so everyone be prepared.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I rise today to draw your attention to something that you already know, but you can easily forget. 27 million human beings, 27 million human beings today are believed to be enslaved on the planet Earth. Slavery is not a story of our past, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there are still places on the planet where people are enslaved, and unfortunately, some of them continue to exist within our very nation. Human bondage, traditional slavery, forced labor, and human trafficking, particularly human sex trafficking, is real. It is around us every day, and most of us walk away. There is a movement across the globe called the End It movement. It is a coalition of people and organizations committed to shining a light on slavery and its continued existence. They are committed to ending the practice at the global level. And the symbol of that movement is a red X on your hand. You will not free a single human being by drawing a red X on your hand. Do not satisfy yourself that drawing a red X on your hand means you have done something. But if you choose to draw a red X on your hand to bring attention to the issue and to remind yourself that 27 million human beings do not have the basic human liberty of choosing their own course in life, and to act accordingly, we have done a disservice to who we claim to be. So I'd invite you to draw an X if you like. I got a pen if you'd like to use it. But even if you don't draw an X, don't go to sleep tonight and forget 27 million human beings. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Senator 35th on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a moment of Black history. Today, this is the 90th anniversary of Black History Month, and I would like to celebrate Langston Hughes, who was a poet laureate. And he wrote about the times that were happening then, and he wrote about having pride in being who you are as being African Americans. He wrote poems on many topics, but then he also wrote a poem called Mother to Son, and I'd like to just say that poem. He said, well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. Yet all the time, eyes have been a-climbing and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, son, don't you sit down on the steps because you think it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, because eyes are still a-going, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So he encouraged us not to give up, not to sit down, not to sit on your hands and do nothing. He encouraged us to continue. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair either. So I honor you, Langston Hughes, today on the Black History Moment. Thank you. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Senator on the first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it is with a heavy heart that I come up here today. The senator from the 2nd is going to follow me. It is this morning at 5:24, Representative Bob Bryant passed away. Bob was in our Savannah delegation and was a wonderful person. Bob was that person in our delegation that when there was turmoil at times, and there's not been very much, but he was the person of reasoned voice. Bob was a wonderful man. He was a friend. He was a friend to us all. Though we're only separated by a few short steps from the House to the Senate, he was one of us, a great person. Just a little story about Bob. Bob was in the military, had many brushes at the times of being in the military, but I must say that when he was traveling home one Friday afternoon when it was raining on I-16 just below Macon, he had a tree crash along the road, and it crashed into his car, actually. It hit just in front of his windshield, bounced, and landed right behind him in his car. Bob felt that there was a more purpose for him in his life. He is missed by his family, he's missed by his friends, and missed by his colleagues. Bob was a wonderful man. And with that, Mr. President, I would like to yield the well to my colleague from Savannah, also a senator from the 2nd.
Senator from the 2nd is recognized. Doorkeeper, secure the chamber, please.
Colleagues, this morning we lost a friend. About 5:30 this morning, one of our colleagues in the House, State Representative Bob Bryant, went on to a better land. I'm here to tell you that Bob was my friend. He served in his body for a dozen years, but he was my friend because we rode from Savannah to Atlanta together. We shared a car together. You know, if you know anything about having a friend and sharing a ride, you learn a lot from a man. I learned that Bob loved his wife. He loved the spirit of family, that he cared for the people of Chatham County, and he really cared for the people of this great state. Let me tell you about my friend, because my friend didn't have to be here, because he served proudly in the military. He was an airborne ranger. So he gave his duty to his country, so he didn't have to be here. He retired from the military, then he went on and worked for the city of Savannah, where he did his part. So he retired from the city. He went on to be a DJ, went on to serve local government as a city alderman and the good town of Garden City. But he just didn't stop there. He went on to serve in this body. But so you're talking about a man who did need titles, because titles are good, but a purpose is better. And Bob Bryant had a purpose. His purpose was to do something better for this community. He was a sergeant major in the Army, but he didn't just rely on that title. He relied on his purpose to serve his country. And early this morning, an angel, a soldier of God, came down and told Bob Bryant to stand at attention. He said, for your service to this country, I'm giving you the Bronze Star. For your service to your family, I'm gonna give you a Silver Star. But for your service to mankind, for your service to Christ, our God, for your service to mankind and your service for Christianity, I'm gonna give you my heaven. So Bob Bryant, you stand at ease. You kick off those shoes. You are no longer a servant and a soldier in this world. You are a servant of mine in heaven. So let's please bow our heads. Stand for this servant that we've lost.
Let us
Lord,
pray.
dear Lord, thank you for loaning us your servant. Thank you for giving him the ability to serve others. Thank you for giving him the ability to love us and to do good for the state and our communities. Lord, bless him, bless his family. And thank you, Lord, in this moment. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Senators. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed in the Secretary's office.
Is there objection to agree and report of Committee on the State and Local Governmental Operations, which Farrell passed the bill? Chair is none. Report of Committee is agreed to. All those in favor of the local consent calendar will vote aye. Those opposed, no. And Secretary will unlock the machine. On the local consent calendar, the yeas are 48, the nays are 3, and the bills on the local consent calendar having received requisite constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 258.
Senate Bill 258 by Senator Miller of the 40th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-311 of the OCGA relating to creation of county boards of equalization duties, review of assessments and appeals so as to provide that the assessed value of property for a taxable year shall not be increased beyond the initial assessment value established by the Board of Tax Assessors during an appeal of such valuation for such taxable year by the taxpayer, but may be reduced as a result of the appeal of the taxpayer to provide for related matters to appeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Hill of the 32nd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 258, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-311 of the OCGA relating to creation of county boards of equalization duties, reviews of assessments, and appeals, to provide that the assessed value of property for a taxable year may be lowered by the deciding body based upon the evidence before such body, but shall not be increased beyond the assessment value established by the Board of Tax Assessors, to provide for an exception, provide for related matters to appeal convicting laws and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
That's what we'll do. Chair recognizes Senator from the 40th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be quick. This particular legislation, what it does, once you receive your property tax assessment for your home or your business, and if you decide to appeal it, the value cannot be increased unless there's a clerical error or unless you're in the middle of a property freeze. Worked on this with ACCG. They're in favor of it. It passed unanimously, I believe, out of committee, and I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
You do have a question if you wish to yield. Chair recognizes Senator from the 41st.
Senator Yield?
Yes.
Did you talk to the assessors around the state to see what their opinion was of the bill and if they took any action to support it,
Yeah.
number one? And
They were there in their hearings. We had people there in the hearings. And the idea of this was, your tax assessor cannot increase it once he does something, so nobody else ought to be able to do it after that. Otherwise, it would kill people going for appeals. That was the purpose of it. And there wasn't any objection by them there, as I think the finance chairman can confirm that for you.
would you further yield?
Yes.
Yeah, my only question was whether or not they had, stated any concern that this might cause a lot of appeals, by people who really don't think they deserve a change or anything, but evidently they did not report any concerns to you at the committee.
There wasn't any testimony of that. Thank you for asking the questions.
Question on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Granted, report of committee which fair will pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. And Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 0. This bill, MC Rex Constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 302.
Senate Bill 302 by Senator Martin of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the OCG related to insurance so as to require health carriers to maintain accurate provider directories, to provide for definition, to provide for electronic and printed provider directories, to require certain information provider directories, to grant enforcement authority to the Commission to provide for related matters, to appeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Bethel of the 54th. Mr. President, the Insurance and Labor Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 302, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the OCGA relating to insurance so as to require health carriers to maintain accurate provider directories, to provide for definition, to provide for electronic and printed provider directories, to require certain information provider directories, to grant enforcement authority to the Commission to provide for related matters, to provide for a short title, to provide for an exemption, to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes.
Some amendments, Senator Hill, the 32nd, and others. Just read that.
Just do here and say and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senators Hill, the 32nd, and others offer Amendment Number 1 to the substitute to Senate Bill 302 by inserting after the word "to" on line 1 the following. Amend Chapter 7 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to kinds of insurance, limits of risk, and reinsurance so as to provide definition to provide that physician agreements are not insurance to exempt such agreements from regulation as insurance provide for discontinuance of services under certain circumstances and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 5th to recognize a group in the audience, in the gallery, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize some folks in the, that are in the gallery today. For those of you who do not know, as a Georgia State alum, this was the first year that the Georgia State football team made it to a bowl game. And so we've got some of their football players up in the gallery, if we could recognize them. I know that we have their coach, Trent Miles, who is also the Sun Belt Conference Coach of the Year. Sorry, there's wide receiver Penny Hart, who's the freshman All-American and Sun Belt Conference Freshman of the Year. Robert Davis, who's the All-Sun Belt Conference First Team. The tight end, Keith Rucker, all Sun Belt Conference second team, and the defensive lineman, Shawan McGee, and linebacker Alonzo McGee, all Sun Belt Conference honorable mentions, along with safety Bobby Baker. So I just was asked folks to give a congratulations to all of y'all. Thanks for the first bowl appearance, first bowl win. Thanks. Come on.
Glad to have you with us. Thank you very, very much. Chair recognizes Senator from the 19th.
I just got a text that we have some folks from Vidalia High School in the gallery today. We'd like to welcome them. Please, let's give them a round of applause from Vidalia High School.
Good. Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th. Present the bill. Senator from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. My voice is weak, so I will be brief today. Today, I'm proud to bring you SB 302. This is called the Provider Directory Improvement Act. The bill is a result of many stakeholders, insurance carriers, health facilities, and health providers, working together to come up with a good piece of legislation that meets an important need in our state. In recent years, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners embarked on a mission to establish appropriate rules and regulations to ensure that provider directories include appropriate and uniform information, along with rules to verify that the information in directories is correct and kept up to date. During this process, SB 302, we have used this model bill as our guide. According to SB 302, directories should be easily accessible on the carrier's website, and the information should in plain language describe the networks and any applicable tiers of the plan. It should also include uniform information on healthcare professionals, hospitals, and other facilities that are contracted with the plan. The accuracy of these directories is paramount in making sure that consumers can make informed health insurance decisions. This bill includes provisions that aim at improving the accuracy of directories as well. It includes an initial directory update and then an annual audit of the directory going forward. Finally, if the insurance commissioner finds that a covered person reasonably relied upon material inaccurate information, thank you. Materially inaccurate information in a provider directory, the commissioner may require the carrier to provide coverage for the services rendered. As I said earlier, this legislation closely mirrors the NAIC model legislation and we worked incredibly hard to make sure it was equitable to all parties. I ask for your favorable consideration, and I will yield to any questions. And I believe there's an amendment on our desk. I will say before the senator, before he presents, due to the number of moving parts in this bill, I oppose the amendment. Thank you.
Senator from the 11th, you can get with him offline. Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd to speak to his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, sometimes the law does not make sense in the state of Georgia. This amendment is just a common sense measure, because would you be surprised if you were to find out that it's illegal in our state? It's illegal in our state. It's unlawful for a patient to enter into a direct contract with a doctor without having the interference of an insurance company or anybody else. Currently today, a doctor and a patient cannot have a direct financial relationship because it's considered insurance, and it's against the law. It's kind of like years ago when this body right here changed the law to say if you stayed healthier, then your health insurance might be less. You had the right to have a lower health insurance cost if you stayed healthy. You have a right to have a lower automobile insurance cost if you're a good driver, but it was against the law once again in Georgia until we changed the law because it's considered a rebate for wellness incentives. So sometimes often we do actually the right thing. Today I'm asking you to do the right thing. Why is this amendment important? And this is not a bill, this is not something brand new to this legislature. Senate Bill 265 was introduced on day 2 of this session, day 2. The people who need this the most are the uninsured across our state of Georgia. This is not concierge and all this highfalutin stuff about wealthy people. There's a lot of people, there's over 1 million people in Georgia who don't have health insurance. Obamacare doesn't cover them. They work for companies less than 50 people. They cannot afford health insurance. So they go to your and my emergency rooms for free at taxpayer expense every single day. That's wrong, because they don't have enough money for health insurance. They don't have enough money to take their babies to see their primary care doctor, a pediatrician, to save and protect their babies. So they go to the emergency room when they're in the worst medical conditions, at the highest cost, in the highest venue. These people work for small businesses across our state. This amendment will help these low-income individuals, middle class, and some of the working poor to provide and pay for health insurance. I know firsthand, because you've heard me say this before already this session. We have a part-time foster care girl at our home. Her mother has 5 kids. I won't get into the details of the story because I want to respect the mother who's trying her best. But she has 5 children. One she has with her. They don't have health insurance. She makes too much money to get other government benefits. She works 2 jobs, about 80 hours a week, and she cannot afford, frankly, to make ends meet. Why is it illegal in Georgia today? I don't know. You answer that. You can answer that question as well as I. Maybe it's perhaps because the insurance companies stand up and say no. They want to have the third-party payer, which is probably one of the biggest challenges with health insurance and health care in our nation. They want to have your relationship with your doctor to be mandated and dictated and interfered with by the insurance company. The insurance company tells you when you can go see a doctor, how much that doctor gets paid, how much you get reimbursed, which is kind of a weird concept, but how much you get reimbursed, and they got this whole convoluted system of a third-party payer system. That has to end. Regardless of what happens here today, that has to end in this nation. The most important relationship in healthcare is the doctor relationship with the patient. The doctor knows best. We have a lot of physicians in this body and nurses. The doctor knows best and the patient knows best, and they have the right to make an informed decision between them and their doctor. Right now, you cannot do that. This amendment allows a doctor and a patient to have a financial relationship. You have the right to go pay your doctor $150 a month for wellness visits. They'll answer your phone calls, they'll answer your emails. Today they can't do that because the insurance company says no. I know there's a lot of challenges, a lot of issues. People are confused. We're hijacking a bill. We've got a freshman who's got a bill that needs to pass through, and I applaud. He's done a lot of work on this, and a lot of interested parties are there at stake. So once again, we'll bow to the interested parties, but I've got a commitment from our great chairman of the insurance company, who's a great friend and stood before us just moments ago on a cause that I believe in as well. And I'll withdraw my amendment when I get back to my chair. But I want the commitment, I asked for the commitment. I asked for the commitment of this body to support a common sense measure. I'm doing this because I don't want to divide our body, Republicans and Democrats. This is not about R's and D's. This is about what's right for the people of Georgia that really need your help. And we should allow them to talk to their doctors and actually have the right to pay on a contractual basis to do so for a doctor of their choice for simple wellness primary care services. We're not reinventing the wheel. This is done in about 24 states across our country, and we'll continue to work. And I hope this is not the last time I stand before you making a shorter request, but a passionate request to do so. So, Mr. President, when I get back to my desk, I'll withdraw the commitment with the commitment from those that support this measure to pass this before we get out of here this session. Thank you very much.
Before you yield, Senator from the 42nd, your light was on, you waving off. Senator from the 36th, your light is on. The senator's going to withdraw, the senator's withdrawing his amendment. What purpose, you want to ask a question?
Thank you. If
You're
the gentleman will
recognized.
yield. The senator yield.
I do for my friend. I'm used to these questions on healthcare issues, so I'll be happy to try to answer one or two for the sake of the time.
Hold on a second. We're not going to debate his amendment because he's going to withdraw it. So, but what?
It just sounded, if you could clarify, that you described a situation, a mother of 5 working 2 jobs with no health insurance coverage. Isn't it true that if we close the gap by expanding Medicaid, that family would have access to coverage?
No, they wouldn't. Not in this instance because the details. She's working 2 part-time jobs. The girl's name is Tara Lynn. She turned 7 on December 7th.
Thank you. We'll be happy to talk with you further. Thank you for taking
She's a first grader. And the answer to your question is no, because the company she works for don't offer health insurance. She doesn't work enough hours to be mandated to do so. And this helps every Georgian that's in that same situation. With that, I will yield the will. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We will wait for you to get to your chair, and you will be recognized. Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to withdraw Amendment 1 to the substitute to Senate Bill 302.
Is there objection? Without objection, the the amendment will be withdrawn. Question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection agreed to report of committee which fail pass the bill? Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the passage of the bill. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and this bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. The Secretary will read S.R. 604.
Senate Resolution 604 by Senators Heath of the 31st and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution to prohibit the levy of state and ad valorem taxes, to provide for applicability, to provide for the submission as an amendment for ratification or for rejection, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this resolution do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Hill of the 32nd. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st to present the bill. Please give Senator your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got a measure before you today that I think you all can be excited about. 2010, we passed a little tax bill, House Bill 1055, which actually accomplished something that we had set out to do in this body a couple of years prior to that. 2008, Senate Resolution 859, which was essentially the same resolution as we've got before you today, passed this body 49-4. In 2010, we passed House Bill 1055, which phased out the state's collection of ad valorem tax. Today, we do not collect that tax, but it is still, the provision to collect it is still provided for in the Constitution, and this is just simply a measure to remove that provision in the Constitution. It would have no physical impact, just good tax policy. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any, Mr. President.
No questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 41st to speak to the bill.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I appreciate the Senator for bringing this forth. Of course, we have done away with ad valorem taxes, so this bill will have no physical effect, no economic effect on our state. But I do want to caution you, last year or the year before, we did a constitutional amendment limiting income taxes and capping it at 6%. When we are reviewed by different bonding agencies, they look at not only our financial conditions, they look at our bonding and how our budget goes, but they look at ways we could raise taxes in the future, what our status is in all the areas of income growth. And by continuing to pass constitutional amendments that tie the hands of the legislature from seeking logical solutions sometime at a future date, that is not a positive thing for these institutions. So I think the will of this Senate is that we're not going to raise ad valorem taxes. Therefore, this is not necessary, and that we should not constrain future General Assemblies from looking at every option possible. If revenue were needed someday to fund education or some other areas, the state should have all tools available to look at those options. So I think the wise course today is to vote this down and urge you to vote no. I yield the will.
Did you want a question? Did you? No. Are you willing? No. What do we want? I mean, he will take one. He will take a question. Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st.
Thank you. Does Senator yield?
I yield.
Did I understand only one question?
I yield for a few more from my good friend from the 31st.
I guess I would have blown it with that one question, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that ad valorem taxes to the state maxed out in 2010 at $86 million, and that would be roughly 0.3% of our state budget? Wouldn't have the same kind of bond impact that a change of income tax would. That makes up about roughly a third of our budget.
Your point is very important to note that this has not been a big economic driver for our state economy. The important thing, Senator, is this. It is very, very politically advantageous for all of us to pass constitutional amendments on taxes we don't collect now. You know, when we capped the income tax last year at 6%, which certainly was a different thing. We had been at 7% in the 70s. It was a bigger limit. But it's politically positive to pass these caps that don't cost us anything, but yet limit our future ability to deal with issues. So it's not only the present bill before us, it's my concern that it might be an attractive avenue of some people seeking possibly political enrichment to support these kind of measures that have no tangible effect, politically look good, but in reality hurt the state in the long run. And by compilation of many of these type measures, we could get in trouble. Could the state sustain this bill or this constitutional amendment without great immediate onerous effects? I believe you're correct. Do I think that a number of these types of measures coming constantly for people looking for political warmth could be a problem down the road? I think that's the case, and that's why it's not easy, but I think appropriate to vote no. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the resolution? Is there objection? Agree in the Report of Committee which failed pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question is on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 35, the nays are 11, and this bill did not receive the constitutional majority, and therefore it has failed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Trying to figure out whether is a motion to reconsider in order or serve notice to reconsider at a later date.
Would be notice.
All right, I'd like to serve a notice to request for reconsideration.
Mm-hmm. Very good. That will be taken. The motion will be on the calendar tomorrow on that.
Thank you.
Very good. Chair Secretary will read Senate Bill 365.
Senate Bill 365 by Senator Schaefer, the 48th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-2-86 of the OCGA relating to special license plates promoting certain beneficial projects, causes, agencies, or nonprofit corporations, so as to establish a specialty license plate for the Georgia Pet Foundation to provide for related matters to require a 2/3 majority vote for passage in accordance with constitutional requirements, repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Harper, the 7th. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 48th to present the bill.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's my privilege to present Senate Bill 365, which is a specialty license plate bill that is designed to raise funds for the spay and neuter programs of the Georgia Pet Foundation. This bill was carefully considered by the Senate Public Safety Committee and received its unanimous do-pass recommendation. I urge your favorable consideration, and if there are no questions, I will yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed to report of committee which fail pass the bill? Chair, and it's none report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair, is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 18th will stand by. Just so the senators know that there is a Chick-fil-A has been brought in the ante room, and you are welcome to participate in the lunch that has been provided today. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46 and the nays are 1. And this bill, having received the constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 367.
Senate Bill 367 by Senator Kennedy, the 18th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide for comprehensive reform for offenders entering, proceeding through, and leaving the criminal justice system so as to promote an offender's successful reentry into society to benefit the public, and enact reforms recommended by the Georgia Council on Criminal Justice Reform, repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Stoner, the 23rd. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 18th to present the bill.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I am pleased to bring to you Senate Bill 367, which is part of the governor's legislation this year. And I want to begin by thanking so many of you in this chamber, an overwhelming number, that endorsed this proposed legislation. I want to thank colleagues on both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, who realize the real value of this for our state and for the future. I also want to thank the chairman of the 23rd, that of the committee that heard and spent a lot of time vetting this, and tell you that this comes to you as a unanimous vote from the Committee of the Judicial Non-Civil that heard this. This really is a continuation of the criminal justice reform that this administration has been working on that spans 5 years now. In 2012, we dealt with adult sentencing reform. In 2013, this body passed juvenile justice reform. In 2014, offender reentry reform. And last year, a revamp of the misdemeanor probation process. Georgia is recognized, and we should be very proud of this, as a national thought leader. Our governor has led strongly on this, and other states around the country look to Georgia as a thought leader on cutting-edge criminal justice reform. So in 2016, we bring to you some legislation that does three basic things. It does a few initiatives in addition to what we've done in the past. Secondly, it's a continuation of the work that's been done on in prior bills. And thirdly, there's some cleanup provisions that would be expected. Several sections, there's about 9 different sections involved in this bill. Section 1 involves accountability courts, which clarifies that the superior courts and juvenile courts and state courts have accountability court divisions and under their jurisdiction. Section 2 talks about the education of youth detention centers. Section 3 deals with school discipline. Section 4 talks about driving privileges and some changes that are being proposed by this legislation. Section 5 deals with the board and the Department of Community Supervision, and transitions to Section 6, which talks about first offender reforms that are contained within the bill. Section 7 talks about misdemeanor probation services that are being proposed that are some really good ideas that need to be implemented. And Section 9 talks about the authority and deals with the Board of Pardon and Parole related to just certain driving offenses that are set out in the bill. Finally, the legislation really rounds out in Section 10, dealing with professional licenses and how our boards are to deal with folks that come for and ask for a continuation or of a new professional license and how that's to be dealt with. Basically, colleagues, Bill 367 in this Senate is really about three things. It's about holding people responsible, it's about improving public safety, and it's about saving taxpayer money. All the stakeholders have been vetted and dealt with in a very broad-based fashion and support this legislation. I hope that you too will see this as very good reform and momentum of what this body has done long before I was here with regard to criminal justice reform. You know, we have lots to be proud of in Georgia. This is one more thing that we can add to the list of the continuation of criminal justice reform. I hope we'll keep up the good efforts, and I have a very good feeling that if this body passes it and the House passes it, that the governor will sign this legislation and we'll be proud of it. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad to yield for any questions.
You do have some questions. Senator from the 10th, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, let me just applaud you for bringing this legislation, and I'm a big fan of Part 3 that deals with the school discipline, and I just want to thank you for your efforts in trying to bring some kind of common sense approach to these hearing officers. So I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate those comments.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 46th, the distinguished majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
On some of your provisions, I'm looking really the kind of first offender provisions. I think I'm on page 44 where that starts. Is there any sort of consideration as whether or not these crimes were of a violent nature or not? You may recall from some of your recent studies, Thomas Carlyle referenced a Birmingham horse pistol and how that could be misused, and I'm concerned about violent crimes being first offender. Does this address that, or do you have any thoughts on that reference?
Well, with regard to that reference, Senator, that is an important historical reference, and sometimes that reference is something that is actually violent or something that is more theoretical and representative of other things with regard to the Birmingham pistol. Not always is that, I understand, to be construed literally within the reading that the majority leader references.
Does this first offender treatment here apply to violent type crimes or more misdemeanor nature?
You're on what section? I want to make sure I'm with you, Mr. Leader.
I was starting there at line 1523 when we go talking about expunging and restricting criminal histories, that type of thing.
Dealing with violent crime.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Senator, I suggest you do a little bit more study on Thomas Carlyle, it appears.
Yes, Mr. President.
Don't want to get ourselves embarrassed. Chair, that's no further questions, Senator.
Oh.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from 22nd to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. In my short time here, Mr. President, I've seen good bills and not so good bills, but probably not many bills that you can actually say with no political motivation that you are truly proud to vote for and support. And I would tell you, Mr. Chairman, that this is one of those bills. I commend the governor, the author of this bill, for creating a bill that would truly change Georgia's lives. If this bill only touched on licenses, it would be good. If it only touched on reform and probation, it would be good. Or even first offender, it would be good. But to have such a comprehensive bill that touches on so many aspects of our lives, this is a bill we can truly be proud of. As a person who in all of his adult life has worked in the criminal justice system, most of it as a prosecutor, I can say that this bill is fair for both sides. And it is truly a bill that we all should support and understand when you go back, that you can tell persons that this is a bill that truly impacted your constituents' lives. Thank you, and I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree on the report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. And Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. This bill having received requisite constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 388.
Senate Bill 388 by Senator Lucas of the 26th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 27 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to bona fide coin-operated amusement machines so as to prohibit the removal of a sticker without authorization, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Beach of the 21st. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th. Present this legislation, the very distinguished gentleman from Bibb and Macon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill does one thing only. It makes it a misdemeanor to remove the stamps that are paid for that must be on each machine. That's all it does. There's nothing in the code that affects it. People are going in, taking the stamps, and then the machines are shut down by the lottery folks if the machine doesn't have a stamp on it. If there are no questions, I will yield the way.
There's never questions on your bill, Senator. Congratulations on bringing this very important piece of legislation to the floor. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed and reported committee which fail pass the bill? Chairs none reported committees agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read S.R. 842.
Senate Resolution 842 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd and others, a resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on the Legislative Process and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this resolution do pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Mullis of the 53rd. Mr. President, the Senate Rules Committee offers the following substitute: Senate Resolution 842, a resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on the Legislative Process and for other purposes, whereas legislative process should be subject to review from time to time for purposes of improving efficiency and transparency and encouraging the deliberative process, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 3rd to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Resolution 842 establishes a bipartisan study committee to review our legislative process to look to see if there are ways that we could improve our efficiencies and our transparencies. And unless there are any questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Actually, no questions.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator 29 to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I just wanted to speak to the Senate resolution and make it clear that there were several rules changes that I pre-filed at the beginning of the session, and I've had the opportunity to work with the senator from the 3rd and others, and I really appreciate the opportunity to comprehensively look at the rules of the Senate, our process, and how we do business. I think this is a good way to move forward on the changes that I was suggesting and other changes that other members are concerned with, and I appreciate the senator from the 3rd for bringing it forward. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, the committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Grant report of committee which failed to pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, nays are 0. This bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read the last bill of the day, Senate Bill 331.
Senate Bill 331 by Senator Thompson, the 14th, and others. The bill to be titled an act to amend Code Section 15-11-2 and Title 19 of the OCGA relating to definitions for the juvenile code and domestic relations, respectively, so as to provide that causing a child to be conceived as a result of violating certain prohibitions relating to certain offenses is an additional grounds for terminating parental rights. To provide definitions, provide that causing a child to be conceived as a result of violating certain prohibitions relating to certain offenses is an additional grounds for losing parental rights and is relevant in certain adoption proceedings. To provide for related matters, tribunal convicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil recommends that this bill be passed by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Stoner, the 23rd. Mr. President, the Senate Judiciary and Non-Civil Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 331, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-11-2 and Title 19 of the OCGA relating definitions for the juvenile code and domestic relations, respectively, so as to provide how causing a child to be conceived as a result of rape is involved in terminating parental rights, to revise the definition, to provide that causing a child to be conceived as a result of rape is relevant in legitimation and adoption proceedings, to provide for related matters, tribunal convicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 14th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I'm proud to bring before you Senate Bill 331, the Parental Legitimation Rights Bill. This body has been very supportive and deliberate in protecting the safety of women and children in our state. When a woman has been raped and subsequently becomes pregnant as a result of that rape, she's forced with making a difficult decision to carry the baby to term because she's afraid that her life and the life of that child might be terrorized by the man that has attacked her. There's something terribly wrong with that. We must provide some kind of opportunity for the healing to take place. Senate Bill 331 does just that. Senate Bill 331 allows for that victim to be able to heal from this process by preventing the legitimization of those rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration as we provide their opportunity for the healing. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll yield the well if there's no questions.
No questions, Senator. Question on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Granted, report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0, and this bill, amnesty Rex Constitution majority, is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd. 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to suspend the rules to allow a resolution to be read for the second time.
Is there objection? Without objection, the Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 1038 by Senator Mullis, the 53rd resolution creating the Joint Alternative Fuels Infrastructure Study Committee and for other purposes.
Very good. Chair recognizes Senator on the 28th. 28th. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to give notice of the possible intention to move to a committee of the whole in the future date.
Well, that's pretty bold, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I remember. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Friday, February 26th.
Senator has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Friday, 10 a.m. Read the announcements.
Rules will be held upon adjournment in 450 Capitol. Judiciary non-civil will be held at 3 p.m. in 307 CLOB. Insurance and labor has been canceled. Judiciary has been canceled. Transportation has been canceled. Natural resources and the environment has been canceled. Mr. President, that completes the announcements.
Chair recognizes Senator 36 for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd like to invite you to join us for a hot lunch in LOB 307, Working Families Caucus, looking at the hot issue bills that are taking wings here in our last several days of the session. You're invited, and your sponsor is the AARP. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 55th, your light is on. For an announcement, then the senator from the 2nd after the senator from the 55th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind everyone of the Heritage Dinner tonight given by the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, 5:30 at the World Congress Center. You're all invited.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, there is a reception for the Ambassador of Liberia in the conference room 121. All members are encouraged and invited to attend. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Majority Leader, any other announcements? Majority Leader has moved. We stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday, February the 26th, 2016. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.